Shane Van Gisbergen pulled off one of the most insane saves you will ever see in NASCAR history, and it still unbelievably cost him absolutely everything. It was the very first lap of the race, a moment where the pack is stuck between two lanes of traffic, moving at full speed, when absolute disaster struck. Going into the highly banked first turn, SVG was nudged from behind, sending his car violently sideways at over 160 miles per hour. What happened next was pure genius and pure panic combined. Sliding down toward the apron, the car drifted completely out of control, swinging wildly toward the inside wall. But instead of slamming into the concrete and being completely destroyed, SVG expertly worked the steering wheel, fighting the momentum and somehow pulling the car back from the brink of a tragic, rescending collision. It was a spectacular display of car control that makes you rewind the video 3 or 4 times just to comprehend the physics. The NASCAR world immediately exploded in shock. On the broadcast, Clint Bowyer was screaming in absolute disbelief, while champion Kevin Harvick praised the incredible situational awareness required to keep the racing car safely out of the fence. Even the official NASCAR social media accounts immediately posted the clip, declaring it a true miracle maneuver. But while the fans and the commentators were celebrating this unbelievable survival, a devastating reality was quietly setting in inside the cockpit. The spectacular slide had secretly initiated a slow, heartbreaking downfall. Now, for anyone not familiar with the technical engineering of a modern stock car, the front splitter is absolutely crucial. This thin piece of composite material runs along the bottom of the front bumper and manages the airflow, creating the downforce needed to keep the front tires securely glued to the track. When SVG went sliding down the banking and hit the transition to the flat apron, the violent impact completely shattered the right side of his front splitter. Without that perfectly smooth aerodynamic profile, the car lost all of its front downforce. The result was a massive, uncontrollable understeer, meaning every single time he turned the steering wheel into a corner, the car just wanted to plow straight up toward the outside wall. No matter how much genius or natural talent SVG had behind the wheel, he was hopelessly fighting a broken machine. Over the next several dozen laps, he plummeted through the field, helpless as car after car passed him. It was a deeply heartbreaking situation, watching a driver who had just executed the greatest save of the season slowly realized that his heroic effort had essentially ruined his entire race. The caution flag eventually waved, but the pit crew could not repair the catastrophic aerodynamic damage. SVG was trapped in a miserable cycle of trying to survive a vehicle that was actively fighting him at every single turn. Now, while SVG was fighting a broken car at the very back of the field, the front of the race was producing its own incredible, emotionally charged story. Denny Hamlin had started the race with incredibly high hopes, but an early pit road penalty had completely derailed his momentum, sending him all the way to the back of the pack. Just like SVG, Hamlin found himself mired in heavy traffic. But unlike the damaged car of the New Zealander, Hamlin's machine was absolutely perfect. What followed was a relentless, awe-inspiring drive through the field. Hamlin carved his way past competitors with a ferocious intensity, driven by a deeply personal motivation that went far beyond just winning a silver trophy. Just weeks prior, Hamlin had suffered a devastating and tragic loss. His beloved father, the man who had sacrificed absolutely everything to fund his early racing career, had tragically passed away in a devastating house fire. The emotional toll of this unimaginable grief had filled Hamlin with profound doubts about whether he even wanted to continue racing at all. The heartbreak was incredibly heavy, and the immense pressure of the grieving process made every single lap feel like a monumental burden. Yet, in the face of this overwhelming tragedy, Hamlin channeled all of his love, his grief, and his precious memories into the steering wheel. He drove like a man possessed, slicing through the pack with a spectacular precision that left fans and commentators in absolute awe. The emotional roller coaster of his magnificent comeback reached its absolute peak in the final laps of the race. Hamlin had systematically hunted down the leaders, and with only a handful of laps remaining, he found himself right on the rear bumper of William Byron. In a stunning, dramatic climax, Hamlin executed a flawless pass, taking the lead and driving away to secure one of the most emotionally resonant victories in the history of the sport. Crossing the finish line, the radio transmission was filled with tears as Hamlin dedicated the triumphant win to his late father. A beautifully poignant moment of inspiration and triumph that transcended the sport entirely. It was a day of extreme contrasts, a narrative duality that perfectly encapsulates the brutal and beautiful nature of motorsport. Historically, fans love to debate incredible moments of car control, often comparing SVG's unbelievable Lap 1 miracle to Jamie McMurray's famously spectacular save at Las Vegas many years ago. But while McMurray's miraculous drifting save allowed him to continue racing competitively, SVG's moment of brilliance was ultimately poisoned by the cruel reality of aerodynamic physics. He achieved the impossible, only to be punished by a shattered piece of carbon fiber that doomed his entire afternoon. In the end, the race will always be remembered for two completely distinct, incredibly powerful storylines unfolding simultaneously on the exact same asphalt. At the front of the field, there was Denny Hamlin, overcoming an early penalty and immense personal tragedy to deliver a dominant, deeply emotional victory that honored his family's profound sacrifices. And at the absolute back of the field, there was Shane Van Gisbergen, whose miracle save became total chaos, leaving him with nothing but a broken car, a ruined race, and a breathtaking highlight reel clip that proved his unparalleled talent even on his most heartbreaking day. The juxtaposition of these two extraordinary athletes reveals the absolute essence of competition, where a single millimeter of damage can destroy a legendary performance, and a shattered heart can inexplicably fuel the greatest drive of a lifetime. Racing is fiercely unpredictable, incredibly unforgiving, and breathtakingly beautiful all at once, proving that sometimes the most spectacular saves cannot prevent the inevitable tragedy waiting around the corner.